I am about to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. So much so that it would be in your best interest to fetch a broom or a mop so you could swiftly sweep up the pieces of your once contact mind after it is blown due to the following statement. The new Death Note movie is bad.
No. It's not true. That's impossible!
Okay, so obviously no logical person who watched the trailers was banking on this movie being stellar, but it is surprisingly bad. Like, I went in expecting it to be bad and I was let down immensely. This movie is so bad, in fact, it's the perfect example of how not to do an adaptation. So I thought, hey, why not make a video essay? You know, video essays kinda what I do here on YouTube. Subscribe. Step -1, race washing. So this is a negative step because this is something a lot of people had a problem with that I didn't get at all. This really shouldn't even be in the video, but it somehow stirred up an actual amount of controversy. People on the left and the right were whining about how this movie race-washed their characters. Liberals were saying, why is Light white? He should be Japanese. Can't you tell he's Japanese? And conservatives were saying, why is L black? He should be white. Stop with your black propaganda, Hollywood. Alright, so maybe I'm being a bit naive here, but why don't we judge them on their acting skills? Guys, especially the left. You already had 2 movies with Japanese Light and they both sucked. Maybe give a white actor a try. Who knows? Maybe he'll be alright? Which leads me to the first actual step. Step 1. Casting characters. The first step in making a terrible adaptation is to have a terrible cast. And I'm not talking about their race, I'm talking about their disposition, and I'm especially talking about the characters that they embody. This is Light Yagami.
Even if someone figures out that there's a fake base, I've set things up so that there's no way they could get their hands on the notebook. You see, once the ink reservoir is inserted, it acts as an insulator, preventing the flow of electricity around this circuit. When the fake base of the drawer is put back, this piece of rubber also prevents the flow of electricity. However, if someone were to try and force the bottom of the drawer open, the circuit would connect, and that would ignite the gasoline contained in this thin plastic casing, instantly setting the notebook on fire. The way I've got it set up, all the evidence would be completely destroyed. If I'm ever questioned, I'll just say that I was hiding the real diary because I didn't want anyone to see it. It sounds like a pretty believable excuse. I mean, it is my diary after all.
This is Light Turner. This is Light from the anime. Light is a calculating genius who works independently. He has zero moral qualms, he understands from day one exactly what he's doing and the consequences of them. This is Light from the movie. Light is a bumbling moron who works with his girlfriend. He has several moral qualms and is constantly second-guessing himself throughout the movie. And then there's L. The guy who played L did the best he could. His performance was a deviation from what I was used to, but he managed to stay in bounds with what L felt like. That being said, he is also a betrayal of the show. He does so many stupid decisions, it's kinda funny. In the movie, Watari gives this monologue to Light about how genius L was and how he was raised in isolation to become the ultimate observer of detail. But in the movie, he continuously stumbles and acts on impulse, and I'll get into how later. You might be asking yourself, if there is only 2 ruined characters, why even have this step? Because there is no Death Note without Light and L. The show is about them, the choices they make, the ethics behind their motivations, and the cat and mouse game they both play. This movie shreds that to pieces. Step 2. Rush the plot. So this is something that all adaptations struggle with, whether they are adapting a book, game, or anime. These forms of media aren't meant to be translated in an hour-and-a-half span. So while I do understand the predicament, I won't excuse anything that jeopardizes the quality of the movie itself. And this movie rushes like there's an untapped demographic at the 90-minute line. Admittedly, the anime didn't spend too much time with Light before he encountered the Death Note, but it still gave us a little time to see his life before he became a psychotic killer. We saw him in class, walking on the streets, pondering to himself. We can see a desperate soul in him, needing an escape from life's mundane tasks and patterns. So what about the movie? Well, in the first scene he's in, the Death Note falls. the first scene he's in. Also, Light gets a girlfriend and becomes a god in a 2-minute montage. I do understand that the anime also did a montage similar to the one in the movie, but if this movie is going to change so many things, why not change a bad thing? Speaking of, Step 3. Being canon is for dweebs. Change everything! So many little things are changed for absolutely no reason. Like, Light's mother is now dead, Light's sister doesn't exist, Light's last name has been changed, Light now has blonde hair, Misa is now Mia. That's their change. They took away one letter. Great job, writers. I want to kill myself. The Death Note now can take up to 48 hours instead of 45 seconds, and you can control everything they do up until then. Jesus Christ, is this even a Death Note anymore? It's more like a mind control note. Also now, if you write someone's name but then change your mind, you can take it back by burning the page you wrote their name in, but you can only do it once. That was literally just added so Light could survive in the end. Pathetic. Step 4. Take the original's purpose and theme and spit on it. This step right here is what made this movie unbearable to me. So let's start off by taking some things into account. The original shows about Light and the moral loopholes he would use to justify his actions. He would kill FBI agents to continue being able to rid the world of crime. And in the movie, there is actually a cool scene where a bunch of FBI agents walk to the top of a building's roof and jump off. It was my favorite scene in the movie because I thought that Light was doing it. But that was all ruined when it turns out it was his girlfriend who was behind it all. Dun dun dun! It was like in RPGs when you think the evil master is the big bad guy, but then it turns out his sinister assistant is the final boss. That would be cool, but considering this is Death Note and we're supposed to be watching an intelligent derailment into malice, the reveal was, and I don't like using this word, so cringe. I'm the evil girl, I'm the big bad manipulator, I'm Luke from Percy Jackson. I mean, on the scale of bad adaptations, this is Dragon Ball Evolution. Light doesn't kill a single good guy in this movie, he's the hero. Adam Wingard might as well have filmed himself burning a Death Note manga and stomping on it 1,000 times and submitting that to Netflix. That coward! You got a shot of me? Where's my contract, Netflix? It's time for the grand finale. Step 5. Just be stupid. This is the step where I just vent about stupid characters and the stupid things they do. Literally every character in this movie is a complete moron. Let's start with Light. When he's sitting in the gym's bleachers where a bunch of cheerleaders are currently practicing, with the Death Note in his hands out in the open. Then the girl walks up to him and says, "What's that mysterious notebook in your hand that says Death Note on it and has archaic looking paper in it?" And he responds, "I can't tell you." Then there's L, who in an unprepared speech to the public states he needs a face and a name. Then later, he speaks of Light at a coffee shop telling him he knows that he is Kira. Then in the middle of the conversation, he takes off his hood and his face mask. You idiot! Why? Why did you do that? To intensify what you were saying? You already know he needs a face and a name. Because of you, he's now 50% closer to killing you. Later, when revealing his face backfires, he barges into Light's house and screams at him like a lunatic. Truly the world's greatest detective. Then there's Mia, his girlfriend who turns out to be the bad guy in the end. In the homecoming scene, because of course this movie has a homecoming scene, she reveals herself to be a villain and tells Light she wants full control over the book now. She tells him she wrote his name in the book to die at 12 o'clock and to go get the book, give it to her, and she'll burn the page, thus relieving him of death. And that makes Mia the stupidest character in the history of stupid characters. When I first watched this scene, the first thing I thought of was, what's stopping Light from getting the notebook, burning the page, and writing her name? And the answer is, nothing. And that's exactly what happens. It's so bad. It's like a fan-made Death Note movie I would write when I was 6 years old. So in conclusion, this movie sucks balls.